This is the ANTCUBE Starter Kit Dig Fix Formicarium. This model of Formicarium, like most of the ANTCUBE Formicaria, includes a foraging and nesting area made completely out of glass. It's an amazing looking ant farm, but is it practical or is it only good for its looks? Is it even worth the $320 price tag? Well, in today's video, I'm going to answer all these questions, point out its strengths and its weaknesses, as well as if I, an ant keeper myself with over 5 years of experience, recommend you, the viewer or subscriber, to purchase this ant farm. To begin, I received this ant farm in the mail over 2 months ago. The Formicarium shipped in a box within a box. So far so good. This box was filled with packing peanuts and the product itself was wrapped in bubble wrap. Once I removed these protective layers, I inspected everything and took note that nothing was broken or missing from this kit. Initially, I didn't know what I was looking at here or what to do with it, but after watching the instructional video by ANTCUBE on YouTube, I had a much better understanding of how exactly to assemble this neat looking ant farm. I started off by emptying the bag of loose sand into the outworld right here. This is where the ants will go to forage and look for food. The next step I took was attaching the side plug, as well as the connectors, and adjusting the tubing. Yeah, I messed up here. For some reason, I thought the tubing needed to be cut. Don't ask why, and so I cut it. Little did I know that this mistake of mine would cost me in the near future. Aside from that, a neat little gadget that comes with this Formicarium is the Thermometer and Hygrometer. In this kit, they're used to measure the temperature and humidity within the outworld, which can be helpful to make sure the temperature and humidity levels suit the ants that you intend on keeping. When attaching it to the bottom lip of the outworld, you need to be careful because the glue used to secure it bonds to the first thing it touches rather quickly, and so you really only have one shot at this. Once attached, I need to ensure that any of the ants I move into this Formicarium have zero chance of escape. So I applied the provided oil barrier to this sponge here and then to the underlip of the outworld so that any ants that try to escape will simply just slip back down. The very top of the lid is a smooth pane of glass with 2 circular cutouts. And to secure it to the outworld, I attached the included rubber stoppers and finally plugged the 2 main holes. The last step was to water the nest area's dig fix material, and with the nest now hydrated, it's go time. Let's add some ants into this Formicarium. Here we have a small colony of Florida harvester ants, and at first, I felt like they were going to be the perfect ant to move into this nest. That was until I found out that they can't really climb all that well. Usually, this is a good thing. However, they kind of need to climb this tubing in order to bring back food to the nest, and that was proving to be a difficult task for them. I left the ants alone for some hours, hoping that somehow they would magically learn how to climb, but however, all they managed to get done was starting on the construction of their nest. I decided in the colony's best interest to just remove them and try out another species, one that can climb smooth surfaces with little to no issue. The species I ultimately decided upon moving was none other than this colony of long-legged ants. I moved the colony manually and also made sure that the queen made it safely into the outworld, and then let the Formicarium sit on my ant shelf for 2 whole months, only ever checking on them to make sure that they had enough water and food. It ended up being much longer than I was expecting, but I wanted to accurately judge this Formicarium and not just base the review off of a few days of data. 2 months was more than enough time to help me conclude my review. But before I share my thoughts, I want to show you what these ants managed to accomplish over the course of 2 months living inside of this nest, as well as the problems that I noticed along the way. Firstly, the ants did a really good job at removing the material and constructing the nest how they would in the wild. It's not at all what I expected it to look like, but I'm pleased with the result. I noticed they had only dug about 3 inches deep, and that was kind of because I overwatered the nest in the beginning. These ants come from the desert and aren't used to high quantities of water where they live. That mistake was on me. The only real issue didn't have anything to do with the nest or the outworld. It was actually the connection tube, which was too smooth for even these ants to climb, and so I had to scrape the inside of it in order to give the ants something rough to grip onto. Now that might have been because I cut off a small portion of the tube in the beginning, but I think even with the extra length, the combination of smooth tubing and a semi-steep hill would still make it quite a difficult task for some ants to ascend. That said, if I had just moved in a better climbing species, the results would have been much different. I actually almost forgot to include this part in the video, but the kit also comes with some feeders and food for the ants. I tested them out, and I think it's fair to say that my ants enjoyed it. Overall, I really like this Formicarium. The only downside that I can see for some people, including myself, is the price tag, sitting at about $320 USD. But for an ant farm that is made completely out of glass, can be used over and over again, and looks pretty darn cool, I'd say it's worth every penny. Of course, I wouldn't say this nest is for everyone, but if you're like me and can't always afford a big nest like this, but still want something similar to it, I'd say it'd be a great idea for ANTCUBE to make a smaller version that is maybe half the size and theoretically half the price. It would open a lot of doors for beginner ANTCUBers looking to taste test AntCaping before dumping a lot of money into it. That said, if you decide to get this Formicarium or any of the ANTCUBE Formicaria for that matter, I would treat it as an expensive piece of art and set it somewhere safe, but also where it can be displayed to anyone who passes by to look at the ants inside. I personally like the look of it in the center of my living room. Not everyone has an ant farm in their living room, so having one in mine creates a unique experience for any of my visitors, and I hope it inspires them to give ant keeping a shot as I did over 5 years ago. Thanks for watching and supporting the Lights Camera Ants YouTube channel. If you wish to buy this ant farm for you or someone you know, be sure to click the link in the video description and type the code Christmas20 to save 20% on your new ant farm when you check out. That's all for now, and I'll see you later.